So hi Francesca, nice to meet you and welcome to this new episode of Beyond the Edge. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we truly appreciate your time, and if you're ready, we can go with the very first question that you saw in advance. But feel free to add anything you like, and if anything comes up, please feel free to tell us anything you feel.
Yeah, so your question was about how Raconteur helps leaders understand the world of business and how it's changing, and what that means and how we pick what we publish. So I think it's impossible to deny that the world is changing. There's the sort of pace of technological change. There are new demographics rising and falling, and what people want from brands and from their business leaders changes all the time. We need new skills to adapt to new technologies. And I think it would be a mistake to think that it's not just as confusing for business leaders as it is for anybody else, for employees and consumers. So we exist at Raconteur to be a kind of trusted advisor, a source of information and support for the C-suite, primarily the UK C-suite, so chief executive officers and their executive team. And we really use that as the North Star for everything that we publish. So the content that we create and that we partner with people on is designed to educate, inform, support, inspire. So everything we publish needs to have advice for the C-suite. It needs to be giving them all the information they need to make informed decisions in the boardroom, because it is harder than ever to know how to adapt to the world.
Yes, that's pretty true. And speaking about contribution and content proposal, so what actually come into your website, into Raconteur, let's move on to media pitches and the PR activity. So how do you handle this sometimes difficult, sometimes precious relationship, and what should a PR professional always keep in mind before pitching a press release or a byline proposal, an interview proposal, anything to you?
Well, I'd start off by saying that journalists couldn't do what they do without PR. The relationship between journalists and PR is absolutely symbiotic. It's crucial. It would make my life so much harder if I had to try and do what I do without a relationship with great PRs. But you're right, it is a difficult one, and it's not always straightforward to get it perfect. I would say there are differences from publication to publication, but in general, it really all comes down to understanding the audience. That is, I hope you would agree, what makes great PR is understanding what matters to the client, but also understanding the audience that they want to get in front of. And as an editor or as a journalist, you get so much in your inbox every day. And the stuff that gets through to you is the press releases and the emails that really understand that somebody is pitching something that will work for you and for your audience, that demonstrates that they know who you're writing for. So I will say, at least in the case of Raconteur, 90% of press releases go straight into the recycle folder, because they're simply not tailored to who we're writing for. They haven't taken into account our audience. That's a cardinal sin for me. I would say the thing that does pretty much always get cut through for us is anything with data, any proprietary research. We are always trying to find a way to understand the landscape, understand consumers, understand employees, understand what people want from the world of work. Yes. And the PRs that represent brands who can done their own research and actually have some insight into that, that's gold dust. But yeah, generally the best bit of advice I could give is meet with editors, meet with journalists, have a real human relationship, and get a fundamental understanding of what the audience wants. Yeah. And then pitch everything, press releases, everything like that, tailor it, make it custom, make sure it's right for the audience.
Yes, I completely agree. And you mentioned the human relationship. So let's move on to AI, since we mentioned it. The rise of this instrument, this tool, is reshaping both journalism and all the industry it covers. So how do you see it influencing your work, if you see influencing your work?
Well, yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible to get away from it. For one thing, everybody wants to read about it, so we're writing about it constantly. it sometimes can be difficult to find new things to say, but I will say in terms of how people interact with journalism, the rise of generative AI platforms like ChatGPT have meant that people can find answers to questions much more quickly and easily than ever before. And as somebody who has spent a considerable amount of my career learning SEO and trying to make sure that the content we write is findable in search, it can be a bit of a scary process, a prospect to look forward and think that all that work is no longer going to be applicable. But what I think it does mean is that people can find raw information much more easily than ever in a kind of chat function, but they can't find what makes what we do really special. They can't find the kind of human stories necessarily that we are privy to every day when we interview C-suite leaders. Like, we are still the best vessel for translating human experiences and emotions and fears. So I think it would be wrong not to be worried about the rise of AI, particularly generative AI, particularly if you're a content creator of any type. I think also it would be wrong not to recognize how helpful it can be. I mean, we use a number of different AI platforms. We use things like Google Notebook and we use ChatGPT to help with writing social posts and making sure we pick the best headlines and structuring pieces and transcription, which is a nightmare when you've got to transcribe interviews. I mean, AI has been massively helpful there. So I think we should be wary and we should go in with our eyes open, but we shouldn't let that stop us using AI as a valuable tool. And yeah, I don't think it will ever replace what makes journalism truly special.
Yes, I completely agree, because I mean, it's something we need to integrate and not being, eliminated by it. That's the whole point. But you need to be careful and, have in mind what you need to ask and what are your purpose when you use that, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So we were very quick and we already are at the very last question, but a very important, I believe. So niche publication versus mainstream media. Is it always better to secure coverage on the second one, or is it not? So I'm curious.
I mean, I work for what you would probably call a niche publication, so my answer...
That's why I asked.
Yeah, my answer is no, and it's completely biased. But I think it really comes back to what I was saying before in terms of the relationship that we have with PRs. In order to do to do great PR and in order to get great coverage, you need to understand who your brand or the organization you represent wants to get in front of. There is a lot of merit in being featured in a national publication. I mean, brand exposure, equity, reputation, like that is massive, and it's still extremely exciting, and brands love it because of the prestige that comes along with being in a national title. But if what you want is something more targeted and more specific, I think you really need to ask the question, like, does it make sense for your beautifully honed piece of content to go out to an audience where 90% may not be the person you're trying to...
Your target audience.
Yeah. Or do you want to partner with a niche publication or trade press or whatever you want to call it, who knows that 90% of their audience is exactly the right person? I think it's really as simple as that. You just have to decide what your goal is and what the audience you want to get in front of is. But I think there's room for both.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And sometimes the most difficult part for us is transfer that information to the clients, because I completely agree. If I am a CEO, if I am a startup leader, I would want to be on the Guardian or on the Financial Times, of course. I completely understand their point. But if you, specifically if you have an agency, a PR agency, you should trust at least why I'm telling you, okay, let's try to do that. Let's try to go to the Financial Times. But believe me, there is a reason why I propose you to pitch some niche publications, and maybe smaller publications, but more targeted. So that's really the whole point of being consulted by, I think.
Yeah, it's always surprised me that people will spend considerable amounts of money working with not just PR, marketing agencies or content agencies, and then not trust the experts that they've brought on. It's a bit of a bugbear of mine. But it is, I suppose, it's one of the challenges that makes PR interesting, that you have to be able to get people to trust you. And in a time where budgets are so constrained and everyone is so worried about being able to demonstrate ROI, to have measurable results, you have to be able to say, trust me, I will be able to show you the success off the back of this. You need to take a leap of faith because we're the experts and that's what you're paying us for. But I have great sympathy with you because it is.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have it with you because I know sometimes PR can be a little bit tricky to work with. I know. But
essential, absolutely essential nonetheless.
Yeah. I just have another question, which is like off the record for if you know what I mean. But I mean, I'm very curious. What do you think the most important soft skills are for PRs? In your experience, in your opinion?
I mean, this doesn't have to be off the record. I'm quite happy to say this publicly.
Okay, thank you.
Never underestimate the power of being a nice person. That sounds really trite.
Thank you.
I mean, if you are pleasant and punctual and reliable, human and funny and real and vulnerable about your challenges, it makes it so much easier for people to work with you, not just in PR, but anywhere.
Yeah, anyone.
I think that gets really overlooked. Like, I would say also be prepared to put the time in. You know, it's and I think we all get this. If you've had a busy week, sometimes the last thing you want to do is to spend time crafting like a perfect, beautifully honed pitch for every single publication you're reaching out to. But you have to do that. It's just like
that's pretty their work.
Yeah, if you work in sales, you have to do the same thing. You can't pitch all prospective clients with the same email. You don't get results. So yeah, hard work and just be a nice person. I think that people really underestimate how far those things can get you in an industry and in a profession that is completely built on human relationships.
Yes, especially right now where I mean, AI is at the horizon. So.
Yeah, and like, don't think that you're getting away with it if you are using ChatGPT to write all your pitches. Like, it is obvious.
Yes, it's pretty clear. Today is still pretty clear. Yes,
I think so.
Thank you, Francesca. It was very nice to have this chat with you. I really hope it was for you too.
It was. Thank you for having me.